All right, welcome to AP Gov. So these lectures are going to serve sort of as a guide through the chapters. You still are going to need your textbook. This is going to help you get your vocab and dig deeper into the concepts that you're going to get from the video here. So let's get started. American government and politics. So this is chapter 1, and what we're going to look at are the different influences on our democracy, different types of democracy and democratic theories, types of governments, and the difference between government and politics. So let's start with you guys, okay, the young people in politics. Millennials, the younger generations, you tend to have a low sense of political efficacy, which means that you don't necessarily believe that political participation matters and that you can make a difference. But I think this might be on a wave of change, hopefully. So inside of this lecture, we're going to discuss and highlight, as well as in class, different things that you can do to address and change our systems. So remember that this is in your hands and it's your government. All right, so government. Government is essentially the institutions. It's the executive branch, the legislative branch, the judicial branch. It's the bureaucracy that actually runs everything, okay? It's these institutions that make the policy. So that's government. What you need to remember is that we are a Republican government, and by that I don't mean the party. I mean we are a republic where representatives are elected to carry out citizens' preferences. Okay, so the difference between government and politics. Politics is the process, all right, where we elect government leaders based on their policies. Okay, something that you need to keep in the back of your mind is something called linkage institutions. And what these are is this is what links and connects you, the individual, to our government. All right, and the 4 linkage institutions are political parties, elections, media, and interest groups. So get these in your notes. These are what are going to help you understand your place and role inside of government. All right, so our textbook goes over a bunch of different citizen stories and explains how they impact policy and make changes, but let's go over what policy is. So policy is basically individuals or groups identifying a problem, okay, the problem becoming part of kind of an agenda of a government entity, all right, and then Congress passes legislation based off of that policy. Then the bureaucracy implements that policy, that new law, all right, and then feedback is received regarding any revisions needed. So policy agenda, this is the issues that government is addressing at any point in time. So items at the top of the policy agenda obviously are taken care of first, hopefully, all right, but you do need to remember it does take a long time for certain policies and ideas to reach the top of that agenda. It also takes a long time to actually enact policy. So, all right, the implementation. All right, once we implement it, feedback is really important. Okay, was it effective or ineffective? Are the resources available? All right, and does the policy need to be revised and clarified? And this is a lot of what Congress does and deals with, especially the bureaucratic portion of the executive branch, because they're the ones executing the laws passed by Congress. So let's look at the influences on our democracy. First, of course, we have John Locke, who came up with natural rights, right? The idea of life, liberty, and property. We in America replaced property with pursuit of happiness because property was very limited to wealthy white people when we wrote the Declaration. So rather than alienate the majority of the colonists, we said pursuit of happiness. Locke also agrees in the social contract, the idea that we give up some rights in exchange for protection from a government entity. Then we have Montesquieu. Montesquieu is really important because he was the one that thought up the idea of separation of powers, and that by separating powers in government, this will keep government in check and protect the people. So theories of democracy. First, we have democracies, right? They have free and fair elections, all right? They look and protect civil rights and liberties. This means that we're looking at equality in voting, effective participation, enlightened understanding, citizen control of the agenda. It's looking at inclusion, All right, so all of those are really important. And then we have theories of US democracy. Okay. One is a pluralist theory. This is basically a theory of government and policies emphasizing that politics are mainly a competition among groups, so each one pressing for its own preferred policy. Then we have public interest. Okay, we have participatory democracy, which is a broad participation in policies and civil society. All right, civil society is the voluntary associations of independent governments. Then we have an elite theory. This theory of government and politics basically says that society is divided along class lines and that an upper class elite will rule and make the policies. This says that policies benefit those with money and power over the majority. So institutions, systems, and power. So political institutions are the structures of government. Okay, so that's the branches: executive, judicial, legislative. And we have constitutional republic, and this is a democratic system with elected representatives in which the Constitution is the supreme law. Okay, so this is what we function under. We are a constitutional republic, and we have political institutions. So as you read, keep in mind, political culture is the set of shared values that we have in America. Okay, some of those values tend to be individualism, rule of law, a limited government, and equality of opportunity. American political values also are individualism, right? The focus on individual rights and responsibilities, okay? And then rule of law, the notion that the law is supreme and no one is above it. Not the president, not Congress, nobody is above the law. Believe in that limited government, the idea that government's power is constrained by the Constitution, okay? The Constitution tells them what they can do and what their powers are. Equality of opportunity is the idea that everyone should have an equal opportunity to succeed. So the challenges to democracy: increased complexity of issues, limited participation in government, and escalating campaign costs. There's also a huge diverse political interest, right? Our parties, our division, our different debates. So things you need to keep in mind. Are people knowledgeable enough about government? Mostly no, so welcome to class. Is low voter turnout a threat to democracy? Possibly. We'll look at the Electoral College versus the popular vote. Do political parties meet the needs of most Americans? Think about current events and if the sitting current two-system parties actually represent the majority of American voters. Also, what is the proper balance between individual freedom, social order, and equality of opportunity? All right, get all this in your notes. Remember to look at the citizen stories in the textbook, update everything, be sure to have your vocabulary ready to go, and until next time.